The Marvel Universe has survived apocalypses that would shatter lesser realities. It has endured Thanos snapping half of existence into dust. It has watched gods wage war across dimensions. It has seen cosmic entities older than stars battle for supremacy. But on this day, something arrives that does not follow the rules of heroes and villains. Something that does not care about balance, justice, or survival. The sky above New York cracks like glass. Not metaphorically, the fabric of reality itself splinters with a sound that makes every living thing on Earth stop breathing. And through that fracture steps a figure radiating power so raw, so primal, that the planet's magnetic field shudders in recognition of something it has never encountered before. Doctor Strange feels it first. In his sanctum sanctorum, every protective ward he has spent years maintaining ignites simultaneously, burning through centuries of mystical energy in seconds. His hands tremble as he watches ancient seals, designed to contain multiversal threats, crack and crumble like dried clay. Wong bursts through the door, his face pale, and Strange already knows what he's going to say. Something has entered their universe, something that reality itself is rejecting, like a body rejecting a transplanted organ. Strange's third eye opens involuntarily, and what he sees in the astral plane makes him physically recoil. A green star of infinite rage, burning so bright it blinds every mystical sensor across every dimension. This is not magic, this is not cosmic power, this is something older, something fundamental. Across the galaxy, the guardians of the Star-Lord's ship, alarms scream with an intensity reserved for extinction-level events. Rocket frantically works the controls, trying to identify the energy signature that just rippled across known space like a shockwave through water. Gamora's eyes widen as she recognizes something in the readings, not the signature itself, but the pattern, the chaos, the absence of control. Drax stands motionless, his warrior instincts telling him what his mind refuses to accept. Something has arrived that cannot be fought with strength alone. Star-Lord tries to contact the Avengers, the Nova Corps, anyone, but every communication channel is flooded with the same message repeating across 1,000 worlds. Massive energy anomaly, origin unknown, threat level immeasurable. On Earth, civilians stop mid-conversation as an oppressive weight settles over the atmosphere. It feels like standing at the base of a mountain that's about to fall. Children begin crying without knowing why. Animals flee cities in massive migrations, driven by instincts older than civilization. The Avengers' compound erupts into controlled chaos as every detection system they possess goes critical. Tony Stark's AI, Friday, speaks with something that sounds disturbingly like fear in her synthetic voice. "Sir, I'm detecting an energy reading that exceeds every scale we have. It's not Asgardian, it's not celestial, it's not anything in our database. And Mr. Stark, it's getting stronger." Tony doesn't respond immediately. He's staring at a holographic display showing a single figure. The figure lands in what used to be a park in Queens. The impact doesn't create a crater, it creates a perfect circle of obliterated matter, as if the ground simply ceased to exist within a 100-meter radius. Broly stands at the center, muscles tensed, breathing heavily, eyes unfocused and wild. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't care. The rage that defines his existence has followed him through whatever cosmic accident brought him here, and it's building with every heartbeat. His aura flickers, green energy crackling with barely contained destruction. He's not consciously hostile, he's simply existing, and his existence is incompatible with the stability of matter around him. The air superheats, the ground begins to crack in spreading patterns. Reality bends near him like space-time struggling to accommodate a mass it was never designed to hold. Spider-Man is the first hero to arrive, swinging through the city with his usual quips dying on his lips as he sees the destruction. He lands on a rooftop overlooking the epicenter, and his spider sense doesn't just tingle, it screams. Every instinct in his enhanced body is telling him to run. Not fight, not investigate. Run. He's felt fear before. He's faced villains who could kill him, but this is different. This feels like standing in front of an oncoming train, except the train is conscious and made of pure violence. Peter Parker, the kid from Queens who jokes in the face of danger, finds himself unable to move. His fingers grip the edge of the building so hard the concrete crumbles. And through his mask, he whispers something he never thought he'd say. "We're not ready for this." The Avengers mobilize within minutes. Captain America's shield is strapped to his arm. Thor grips Mjolnir, lightning already crackling across his body. Hulk is already transformed, roaring challenges that echo across the city. Iron Man, hover. Above in his latest armor, weapons systems armed and targeting the figure who hasn't moved since landing. They form a perimeter, each hero taking their position with the precision of countless battles. But something is wrong. Thor, who has fought beside gods and against cosmic tyrants, feels his warrior's heart falter. The power emanating from this stranger is making Mjolnir vibrate in his hand, as if the hammer itself is uncertain. Cap's tactical mind runs through dozens of scenarios and discards them all. Hulk's rage, usually uncontrollable, wavers as he faces something that makes even his primal fury feel small. This isn't a villain they can defeat. This is a force of nature they must survive. If you want to witness the moment Earth's mightiest heroes learn the meaning of inevitability, stay with us, because what happens next will redefine what the Marvel Universe believes about power, control, and the fragile hope that holds their reality together. This is not a battle. This is not an invasion. This is the day the Marvel Universe meets something it was never meant to contain. This is the day they meet Broly. And nothing will ever be the same. The Marvel Universe operates on a principle that has saved it countless times, the belief that every threat can be overcome, every villain can be reasoned with or defeated, and every darkness has a light waiting to break through. It's a universe where a teenager bitten by a spider becomes a symbol of responsibility, where a billionaire in a metal suit proves that humanity can stand alongside gods, where a soldier from the 1940s still believes in doing the right thing, no matter the cost. This optimism isn't naivety, it's been earned through apocalypse after apocalypse. They've faced Galactus and negotiated. They've reversed Thanos' snap through determination and hope. The heroes of this universe have learned through pain and loss that there's always a way forward, always a plan, always a chance. But that philosophy was built on facing threats that, despite their power, operated within certain rules. Even cosmic entities have motivations, weaknesses, patterns. Everything in this universe, no matter how powerful, exists within a framework of cause and effect. Broly exists outside that framework. To understand what now threatens the Marvel Universe, you must understand what Broly is, not who, but what. He was born on planet Vegeta, a world of warriors where strength determined worth and weakness meant death. But Broly wasn't just strong. He was born with a power level so astronomical that King Vegeta, ruler of the Saiyan race, ordered his execution as an infant. Not because Broly was evil, not because he posed any intentional threat, but because his potential was so vast, so uncontrollable, that his mere existence was a danger to everything around him. Broly's father, Paragus, saved him, but that salvation came with a curse. Exiled to a hostile world, raised in isolation, Broly grew up with only his rage as a companion. His power wasn't trained, it wasn't honed, it simply grew, fed by trauma, pain, and the fundamental inability to process emotion in any way except through destruction. In Broly's original universe, the Saiyans understood what he represented. They had words for warriors who lost themselves to battle lust, who couldn't distinguish friend from enemy once their blood ran hot. But even among Saiyans, Broly was unique. His transformations weren't controlled ascensions to greater power. They were involuntary eruptions of energy that consumed his consciousness. When Broly transforms, he doesn't become stronger, he becomes a walking apocalypse. His legendary Super says, Iron form isn't a tool he wields, it's a prison that traps whatever humanity he possessed beneath layers of pure, mindless violence. He doesn't want to destroy, he doesn't choose to kill, but when his power activates, choice becomes irrelevant. He is rage given form, trauma crystallized into physical force, and pain expressing itself in the only language it knows: obliteration. The Marvel Universe has faced beings of immense power before, but they've always had something that made them manageable. Thanos had philosophy and could be reasoned with, negotiated with, even temporarily allied with. Galactus had hunger, a purpose that could be redirected or temporarily sated. Dormammu had ambition and could be trapped in bargains. The Celestials had judgment and operated on comprehensible, if alien, logic. Even the Phoenix Force, raw power incarnate, had a purpose and could bond with hosts who could sometimes control it. Every threat the Avengers have faced came with an angle, a weakness, a way to fight back that didn't rely solely on matching power with power. They've learned to be smart, strategic, and creative. They've learned that being a hero isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most determined, the most clever, the most willing to sacrifice. But what happens when you face something that has no philosophy to debate, no hunger to satisfy, no ambition to redirect, no judgment to appeal to? Bruce Banner knows this better than anyone. The Hulk is Earth's equivalent to uncontrollable rage given form, and Bruce has spent years learning to manage it, balance it, even cooperate with it. He's proven that even the most primal fury can willpower. Standing now on the Avengers compound's observation deck, watching the holographic feed of Broly's energy signatures, Bruce feels something he hasn't felt in years: recognition. He recognizes the pattern of that power, the way it spikes without warning, the way it doesn't respond to external stimuli like a conscious being making tactical decisions, the way it simply exists in a constant state of barely contained explosion. "He's like me," Bruce whispers, and Tony Stark turns to look at him. "No," Bruce corrects himself, his voice hollow. "He's what I would be if I couldn't change back. If there was no Bruce Banner to pull the Hulk back from the edge, he's what I'm most afraid of becoming." Thor understands from a different perspective. As a god who has lived thousands of years, who has fought in wars across the 9 realms, he has seen berserkers, warriors so consumed by battle fury that they couldn't stop fighting even when the battle was won. Asgard had rituals to handle such warriors: containment, exile, or in the most tragic cases, execution. The All-Father himself once told Thor that the greatest warriors weren't the strongest, but those who knew when to stop fighting. Thor has always prided himself on his control, his ability to channel his godly strength with precision and purpose. He fights to protect, to defend, to uphold justice. But watching Broly's power readings climb with every passing moment, Thor grips Mjolnir tighter and realizes something that chills him to his core. This is not a warrior. This is what happens when all the strength of a god is given to someone with no context for mercy, restraint, or purpose. This is every berserker he's ever fought, magnified 1,000 times and stripped of even the basic instinct for self-preservation. Captain America stands beside them, silent. Steve Rogers has faced impossible odds before. He's charged into battles he knew he couldn't win because it was the right thing to do. He stood alone against armies because someone had to. His entire philosophy is built on the idea that you don't measure a person by their strength, but by their courage to stand up when it matters. But even Steve, eternal optimist and believer in the goodness of people, feels doubt creeping in as he watches the tactical displays. Every protocol they have is based on enemy psychology. Villains want something: power, revenge, recognition, control. You can predict them, outmaneuver them, sometimes even reach them. But the figure standing in that crater in Queens doesn't want anything. He's not posturing. He's not making demands. He's not even moving. He's just existing, and his existence is tearing holes in reality. Steve has always believed that there's no enemy you can't face if you have courage and allies. But what do you do when the enemy isn't evil? When they're just a force of nature wearing the shape of a man? The world watches through shaky phone camera footage and news helicopter feeds, not yet understanding what they're seeing. Social media explodes with speculation. Is this a new Avenger, an alien refugee, another Asgardian? The comments range from excitement to curiosity to fear. But those who can sense power, The mystics, the cosmic aware, the enhanced individuals scattered across the globe, they know better. In Wakanda, T'Challa feels the vibranium deposits beneath his nation resonate with a frequency they've never produced before. In Kamar Taj, every sorcerer feels their connection to the mystical arts waver like a candle in a hurricane. In space, the Watcher, who has sworn never to interfere, turns his eternal gaze toward Earth, and for the first time in eons considers breaking his oath. How those stories end, not with hope, not with heroism, but with ashes, silence, and the survivors wondering if they could have done anything differently. The answer is always no. The Avengers don't have the luxury of waiting. Every second Broly stands in that crater, the damage to reality spreads like cracks in ice. Shai-Eld has already evacuated a 3-mile radius, but people are panicking, traffic is gridlocked, and the chaos is making the situation worse. Nick Fury, watching from the helicarrier, makes the call that will define everything that follows. Contain first, understand second, neutralize if necessary. It's the same protocol they've used for every major threat since the Chitauri invasion. But this time, the words feel heavier in his mouth. His instincts, honed through decades of impossible situations, are screaming at him that this is different. Still, they have no choice. They can't let this being simply stand there while reality crumbles around him. The Avengers are Earth's first and last line of defense. If they don't act, who will? The team moves out with the coordination of warriors who've saved the world together countless times. But beneath their professional exterior, each of them carries a weight they don't speak aloud, the knowledge that they might be about to make the worst mistake of their lives. Iron Man descends first, repulsors charged but not firing, every scanner in his armor working overtime to analyze the threat. Tony Stark has built suits to fight gods, monsters, and alien armies. His technology has let him stand toe-to-toe with beings who could crack planets. But his armor's sensors are giving him readings that make no sense. The energy output from this figure isn't just high, it's unstable in a way that defies physics. It's like trying to measure a nuclear reaction that's simultaneously exploding and imploding. "All right, big guy," Tony calls out through his armor's external speakers, keeping his tone casual despite the sweat running down his spine. "I don't know if you speak English, but you're causing some serious property damage here. Mind telling us who you are and what you're doing in my neighborhood?" Broly's head turns slowly, his eyes focusing on the metallic figure hovering above him. There's no recognition in those eyes, no curiosity, just a vast, empty rage that has no specific target yet, but is searching for one. Tony's threat assessment system immediately flashes red. Recommended action, retreat. He ignores it. Captain America approaches from the ground, shield raised but held defensively rather than offensively. Steve has de-escalated dozens of situations through the simple act of showing he's willing to talk before fighting. His body language is carefully neutral, strong enough to fight if needed, but open enough to communicate peaceful intent. "We're not your enemies," Steve says, his voice carrying the authority of a man who's led soldiers into hell and brought them back. "But we need you to power down. You're hurting people just by being here. If you can understand me, if you can control this, we need you to try, right now." Broly's gaze shifts to the man with the shield, and for a moment, just a fraction of a second, something flickers in his eyes that might be comprehension. But then his power flares. A pulse of green energy that sends Steve skidding backward 20 feet, his boots carving trenches in the concrete. Steve wasn't hit. The energy didn't even touch him. He was pushed back by the sheer pressure of Broly's aura intensifying, like standing too close to an explosion's shockwave. Thor lands with a crack of thunder, Mjolnir spinning in his hand, lightning crackling across his shoulders and eyes glowing with divine power. If mortal words won't reach this being, perhaps the language of warriors will. "I am Thor Odinson, god of thunder, protector of Midgard and prince of Asgard," he announces, his voice carrying the weight of immortal authority. "You stand upon a world under my protection. I sense great power within you, stranger, but power without purpose is merely destruction. Stand down or I will be forced to..." He doesn't finish the sentence. Broly moves for the first time since landing, and the movement is so fast that Thor's Asgardian reflexes barely register it. One moment Broly is standing in the crater. The next, he's in front of Thor, eyes locked with the gods, close enough that Thor can feel the heat radiating from his body, like standing next to a star. Mjolnir comes up defensively, and when Broly's aura pulses again, Thor is launched backward with enough force to create a sonic boom. He crashes through 3 buildings before stopping, embedded in the side of a parking structure. That's when the Hulk arrives. Bruce Banner let the transformation take him the moment Broly appeared, knowing that only the Hulk's raw power could match whatever this threat represented. The Hulk crashes into the scene with a roar that shakes windows for miles, his massive green fists pounding the ground hard enough to create localized earthquakes. He's faced gods, monsters, and cosmic entities. He's gone toe-to-toe with Thor, Thing, and Abomination. The Hulk has never met something he couldn't eventually overpower if he got angry enough. And right now, seeing his teammates threatened, feeling the oppressive weight of this stranger's power pressing down on him, the Hulk is very angry. He charges at Broly with the force of a runaway freight train, fist cocked, act to deliver a blow that could level mountains. Broly doesn't dodge, he doesn't even raise his hands to defend, he simply turns to face the charging behemoth, and his eyes narrow slightly, the first sign of conscious awareness he's shown since arriving. The 2 fists meet in a collision that creates a shockwave visible from space. The sound is less like an impact and more like reality tearing. Every window within 5 miles shatters simultaneously. Car alarms scream in chorus. The ground beneath them cracks in a perfect circle, spider webbing outward for hundreds of meters. For a moment they're locked there, Hulk's fist pressed against Broly's palm, raw strength against raw strength. And then, slowly, impossibly, the Hulk's arm begins to shake, not from effort, from the realization that he's not winning, he's not even holding his ground. Broly's power is rising to match his, and it's doing so effortlessly, automatically, like a body's immune system responding to a threat. The Hulk roars and pushes harder, pouring more strength into the clash. His muscles bulge, his power increasing as his rage compounds. But Broly's energy just keeps rising, matching him, exceeding him, doing so without any visible strain or effort. It's not a contest. It's an ocean trying to drown a river. Broly's other hand comes up almost lazily and grabs the Hulk by the throat. The green giant's eyes widen, not in pain, but in shock. No one grabs the Hulk like this. No one holds him still with one hand. The Hulk thrashes, throwing punches that would crack continental plates, but Broly barely moves. Each impact connects, but it's like punching solid steel, worse than steel. Broly's body absorbs the hits, and with each one his power climbs higher. He's not fighting back. He's not attacking. Reaction is building inside him. Tony Stark, recovering from the earlier shockwave, brings every weapon system online and fires repulsor beams, micro-missiles, concentrated arc reactor blasts. All of them strike Broly's back simultaneously, creating explosions that should vaporize anything organic. The smoke clears, and Broly hasn't moved, hasn't even acknowledged being hit. His attention remains fixed on the Hulk, who has stopped struggling and is now staring at Broly with something the Hulk has never felt before: uncertainty. Then Broly throws him, not with technique, not with leverage or skill. He simply releases his grip and pushes, and the Hulk becomes a green missile that travels 3 miles in 2 seconds, cratering into the East River with enough force to create a tsunami that floods lower Manhattan. The Avengers' first engagement lasts less than 30 seconds. Thor pulls himself from the rubble, bleeding from a dozen cuts. Mjolnir's handle cracked for the first time in its existence. Captain America stands bruised but unbroken, shield raised, knowing it's not enough, but refusing to yield. Iron Man hovers with smoking weapon ports, his armor's integrity at 60% from trying to contain the shockwaves. And Broly stands in the center of it all, breathing heavily, his aura flickering green and gold, his muscles tensed, his eyes unfocused. He didn't win a fight, he didn't defeat his enemies, he simply existed near them, and they couldn't withstand it. From the helicarrier, Fury watches in silence. Then, quietly, He gives the order no one wanted to hear. Call in everyone, everyone. The word goes out across every secure channel, every superhero network, every alliance and pact that has been forged in the fires of previous crises. This is not a drill, this is not a false alarm, this is an Avengers-level threat that has already proven the Avengers alone are not enough. In Wakanda, T'Challa suits up, his heart heavy with the knowledge that his nation's advanced technology may be inadequate for what's coming. In Kamar Taj, Doctor Strange begins the complex ritual to summon every available sorcerer, knowing that mystical power may be their only advantage against something that seems immune to physical force. In space, the Guardians of the Galaxy set course for Earth at maximum speed, Star-Lord's jokes dying on his lips as Rocket shows him the energy readings. On Titan's ruined surface, scattered monitoring stations still maintained by those who remember Thanos detect the disturbance and transmit warnings to anyone listening. The message is the same everywhere. Something has arrived that threatens everything, and Earth needs help now. The Fantastic Four arrive within the hour, Reed Richards' brilliant mind already working through dozens of scenarios and discarding them just as quickly. Sue Storm creates force fields around the perimeter, trying to contain the escalating energy, but her constructs flicker and strain under the pressure of Broly's unconscious power output. Johnny Storm, the human supernova, blazes with maximum heat, preparing to add his plasma fire to whatever strategy they devise. But Ben Grimm, the Thing, stands beside the battered Hulk who has pulled himself from the East River, and the two powerhouses exchange a look that needs no words. They're the strongest beings most people will ever meet. They've stood against armies, survived impossible odds, and never backed down from a fight. But looking at the figure standing in that ever-expanding crater, both of them feel something they've rarely experienced: inadequacy. "How hard can you hit him, Jade Jaws?" Ben asks. The Hulk's response is a low growl that translates roughly to "not hard enough." The X-Men arrive next, Cyclops leading a strike team of their most powerful members. Storm calls down lightning from gathering clouds, trying to overwhelm Broly with nature's fury channeled through her mutant power. The bolts strike true, millions of volts of electricity coursing through his body, enough energy to power entire cities. Broly's muscles tense, and for a moment, hope flickers. Maybe elemental power is the key. Then Broly looks up at Storm, his expression not pained but confused, as if he barely noticed the attack. Jean Grey, one of the most powerful telepaths on Earth, reaches out with her mind, trying to make contact, trying to find the consciousness beneath the rage. What she encounters makes her gasp and break the connection immediately. "There's nothing," she whispers to Cyclops, her voice shaking. "I mean, there's someone there, but he's so far beneath the power, buried so deep. It's like trying to talk to someone drowning at the bottom of an ocean made of fire." Wolverine unsheathes his claws, knowing they're useless but unable to stand idle. "So what? We just let him destroy the city?" Spider-Man swings between buildings, evacuating civilians, his spider sense so overwhelmed it's essentially useless. Everything is danger, every direction is threat, every moment is warning. He pulls a family from a collapsing apartment, makes a joke about frequent flyer miles, and swings them to safety before returning for more. He's not strong enough to fight Broly, he knows that, but he can save people. That's what heroes do. On a rooftop nearby, Daredevil coordinates with local emergency services, his enhanced senses painting a picture of the chaos in sound, smell, and vibration. The city is tearing itself apart not from any attack, but simply from the presence of something that shouldn't exist in this reality. Luke Cage and Iron Fist work together to clear a subway station, feeling the ground shake with increasing frequency. "I've fought the Hand," Danny Rand says quietly. "I've channeled the power of Shu Lao. I've faced demons and dragons. But this feels different." Luke, unbreakable skin gleaming with sweat, nods. "Because those things wanted something, had a plan. This is just pure chaos wearing skin." Doctor Strange arrives in a burst of golden light, the cloak of levitation billowing dramatically, mystic symbols already forming in the air around his hands. He's faced Dormammu, bargained with cosmic entities, manipulated time itself. If anyone can find a solution that doesn't rely on physical force, it's him. He begins weaving a containment spell, one that draws power from multiple dimensions, designed to create a pocket universe that can hold anything, regardless of power. The symbols grow more complex, the air shimmering with eldritch energy, reality itself bending to his will. Wong and a dozen other sorcerers join the ritual, their combined power channeling through Strange as the focal point. The spell forms a perfect sphere around Broly, walls made of crystallized possibility and reinforced impossibility. For 5 seconds, it holds. Broly is contained, trapped in a prison that exists outside normal space-time. Strange allows himself a moment of hope. Then Broly's power flares, not consciously, not as an attack, but as an involuntary response to being constrained, and the spell shatters like glass. The backlash sends every sorcerer within a mile to their knees, blood pouring from their noses. Black Panther arrives with Wakandan forces, vibranium weapons charged and ready, but T'Challa's tactical genius is already telling him what his pride doesn't want to accept. Vibranium absorbs kinetic energy. Broly's power isn't kinetic, it's existential. His suit's sensors are detecting energy wavelengths that shouldn't exist. Thermodynamics and reality distortions that make the quantum realm look stable. "Shuri," he says into his comm, "I need options that don't involve direct confrontation." His sister's response is immediate and uncharacteristically quiet. "Brother, our technology is designed to counter weapons, powers, even gods. But this, I don't think he's any of those things. I think he's a natural disaster that happens to be shaped like a person." T'Challa watches as Okoye and the Dora Milaje take defensive positions, spears at ready, but even their legendary courage can't quite hide the fear in their eyes. They would die for Wakanda, they would die for Earth, but dying to stop this won't accomplish anything except adding to the body count. Captain Marvel enters Earth's atmosphere like a meteor, her cosmic powers fully unleashed, energy trailing behind her in a golden wake. Carol Danvers has fought Kree armadas, survived black holes, and channeled enough power to move moons. She is arguably the most powerful hero Earth has, a being whose strength comes from the energy of an infinity stone. If anyone can match Broly in raw power, it should be her. She doesn't hesitate, doesn't slow down. She hits Broly at full speed with every ounce of power she possesses, her fist glowing with cosmic energy, her war cry echoing across the battlefield. The impact creates a shockwave that levels 3 city blocks and launches both figures into the sky. They clash again 1,000 feet up, trading blows that illuminate the clouds like lightning, each impact generating sonic booms that rattle the island of Manhattan. For the first time since arriving, Broly seems to be engaged, his movements becoming more focused, more responsive. Carol presses the advantage, pouring more power into every strike, her cosmic awareness telling her this might actually be working. Then Broly catches her fist mid-strike, and his aura explodes outward in a sphere of green energy that dwarfs anything he's shown so far. Carol is driven down from the sky like a nail struck by a hammer, cratering into the ground with such force that the geological surveys will later confirm she created a new minor fault line. She pulls herself from the rubble, her energy flickering, her confidence shaken. She hurt him, she knows she did, but his power just rose to match hers, then exceeded it, and he did it without even trying. It's like fighting someone who gets stronger automatically just from being challenged. How do you win against that? How do you even survive it? Tony Stark's voice comes through the communication network, stripped of its usual cocky bravado. New plan. We're not trying to beat him. We're trying to survive long enough to figure out how to get him off our planet. No one argues, because they're all starting to realize the same terrible truth. They're not fighting to win anymore. They're fighting to not lose. And those are very different battles. The battle has been raging for 3 hours and Manhattan is unrecognizable. What was once the shining heart of New York City is now a landscape of craters, collapsed skyscrapers, and fires that burn with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. The Avengers have thrown everything at Broly: raw strength, advanced technology, cosmic power, mystical energy, and nothing has worked. Not because he's strategically countering them, but because his power simply rises to meet every challenge automatically, like a body's immune system responding to infection. He doesn't dodge attacks, he absorbs them. He doesn't strategize, he reacts. And with every reaction, his energy climbs higher, his aura burns brighter, and the heroes grow more exhausted. They're not fighting a warrior, they're fighting entropy itself, a force that grows stronger through opposite. The worst part: Broly still hasn't consciously attacked anyone. Everything they've suffered has been collateral damage from his mere presence, defensive reactions to their attempts to contain him. They haven't even seen him try to hurt them yet. Vision, the synthetic being powered by an infinity stone embedded in his forehead, approaches from above, phasing through debris, his mind calculating thousands of scenarios per second. His connection to the Mind Stone gives him perspective beyond human comprehension, allowing him to perceive the fundamental nature of things. When he looks at Broly, the data he receives is paradoxical and terrifying. Broly's power signature resembles a star going supernova in slow motion, massive fusion reactions contained within organic tissue, energy density that should create a black hole, temperatures that should vaporize everything within miles. By all laws of physics, Vision understands Broly shouldn't exist, yet he does. Vision extends his hand, preparing to phase into Broly's body and disrupt him on a molecular level, a technique that has worked on virtually every organic enemy he's faced. His density shifts, his form becoming intangible, and he moves to make contact. The moment Vision's phased hand touches Broly's shoulder, the android screams. Vision never screams, but the feedback he receives is pure agony, his synthetic neurons overloading from contact with something his Infinity Stone-enhanced mind categorizes as fundamentally wrong. Scarlet Witch sees Vision crash to the ground, sparks flying from his damaged systems, and reality itself trembles as her grief and rage manifest. Wanda Maximoff's chaos magic is arguably the most dangerous power on Earth. She has rewritten reality itself when pushed to her limits, altered probability, reshaped existence. Her hands glow red as she channels every ounce of power she possesses. Her eyes zing with energy. "You hurt him," she whispers, and the words carry the weight of universes. Reality warps around Broly like fabric being twisted, space folding in on itself, time stuttering and fracturing. She's creating a pocket of impossible physics where he shouldn't be able to exist, where his power should collapse under its own contradictions. For a moment, everyone watching believes it might work. The chaos magic is wrapping around him like chains made of broken causality, and Broly staggers for the first time, his movements becoming sluggish. Then his eyes focus, really focus, and he looks directly at Wanda. The scream he releases isn't words. It's pure emotion given voice. Pain, confusion, rage, all compressed into a sound that breaks her concentration. The chaos magic shatters, and the backlash sends Wanda flying into Captain America's arms. Steve catches her, but the impact drives him to his knees, his super soldier body at its absolute limit. His shield is cracked, not chipped, not dented, but actually cracked straight through the center, the vibranium proving not quite as indestructible as everyone believed. Blood runs from a dozen wounds, his uniform is torn, and his breathing is labored. But Steve Rogers doesn't stay down. He never stays down. He sets Wanda gently on the ground, picks up his broken shield, and stands once more. "Avengers!" he calls out, his voice hoarse but carrying the authority that has led them through countless impossible situations. "We're not done. We can't be done. If we fall, there's no one else. We hold the line here, or we lose everything." Around him, battered and bloodied heroes find their feet again, not because they think they can win, but because Steve Rogers asked them to stand, and that's what you do when Captain America calls. Thor returns to the battlefield, his armor scorched, blood matting his hair, but Mjolnir still gripped tight in his hand. He has called upon the Odin force, the divine power passed down from his father, energy that makes him more than just a god. It makes him a force of cosmic law. Lightning doesn't just surround him anymore. It is him, every molecule of his being converted into pure electrical fury. He raises Mjolnir high, and the sky responds. Not just clouds gathering, but reality itself tearing open to channel the full wrath of Asgard's storm. The lightning that descends isn't measured in millions of volts. It's a column of divine judgment that connects heaven and earth, power sufficient to crack moons and boil oceans. It strikes Broly with the full force of a god's wrath, the thunder that follows shaking the entire eastern seaboard. When the light fades, Thor is on his knees, Mjolnir's handle smoking in his grip, every ounce of divine power spent. And Broly is still standing, his body steaming, his muscles tensed, his aura flickering gold now instead of just green. Thor's most powerful attack didn't stop him, it made him stronger. From orbit, Silver Surfer descends, herald of Galactus and wielder of the power cosmic. He has traveled the universe, seen civilizations rise and fall, witnessed the birth and death of stars. His master, Galactus, sent him to investigate the energy disturbance, and what the surfer sees makes even his timeless perspective falter. He's familiar with power, he's channeled enough to reshape planets. But Broly's energy is different. It's not controlled power being directed with purpose, it's raw potential constantly erupting, like a star that never stabilized after ignition. The surfer extends his hand, trying to channel the power cosmic to contain this threat, to freeze Broly in time or transport him to another dimension. The energy flows from his fingers, reality bending to his will, space-time opening like a doorway. For a moment, Broly begins to fade, dimensional barriers forming around him. Then his power surges again, not as a conscious effort to resist, but as an automatic response to being moved against his will, and the dimensional portal collapses. The backlash of power cosmic energy explodes outward, and Silver Surfer is sent tumbling through space, his board cracking, his cosmic awareness overloaded. The Hulk and Thing stand side by side, two immovable objects who have never met an unstoppable force they couldn't eventually overcome. They charge together, synchronized through desperate necessity rather than strategy. Ben's rocky fists and Bruce's massive green arms swing in unison, delivering blows that would crack tectonic plates. They're not trying to defeat Broly anymore, they're trying to drive him backward, to move him away from the densely populated areas still being evacuated, to buy even one more minute for civilians to escape. Broly doesn't retreat. He plants his feet and meets them, catching Ben's fist with one hand and Hulk's with the other, and for a moment, they're locked in a three-way test of strength that creates pressure waves strong enough to shatter concrete for blocks in every direction. The Hulk's eyes meet Ben's, and in that moment, they share an understanding that goes beyond words. They're going to lose, they're going to be broken, but they're going to break fighting, because that's what they do. That's all they've ever known how to do. Then Broly's power explodes outward one more time, and both Titans are launched away like ragdolls. The Hulk crashes through the ruins of Stark Tower, his body finally going still, reverted back to Bruce Banner's unconscious form. The Thing embeds into the side of a building, his rocky exterior cracked in a dozen places, and for the first time in his existence, Ben Grimm whispers two words he never thought he'd say: "I'm done." Around the battlefield, heroes lie broken or unconscious. Captain America kneels with his shattered shield, too injured to stand but still refusing to fall completely. Iron Man's armor is barely functional, Friday's voice glitching as systems fail one by one. Thor has been reduced to crawling, Mjolnir too heavy to lift with his depleted power. Doctor Strange maintains consciousness through sheer will, but his hands shake too much to form any complex spells. The greatest heroes Earth has ever produced, the beings who have saved the world from gods and monsters and cosmic entities, lie defeated, not by an army, not by a villain, but by one person who never wanted to fight them in the first place. Broly stands at the center of destruction, breathing heavily, his aura pulsing with barely contained power. And for the first time since arriving, he tilts his head back and screams, not in rage but in confusion, in pain, in the desperate cry of someone who doesn't understand what's happening to him and can't make it stop. You are Maria Hernandez, a nurse from Queens, and your world ended 3 hours ago. You were working a double shift at Metro General Hospital when the sky cracked open and something fell from it like a meteor made of malice. You've lived through the Chitauri invasion, the Ultron crisis, even the chaos when half of all life disappeared and then returned. You thought you'd seen everything this crazy city could throw at you, but nothing prepared you for this. Nothing prepared you for watching gods bleed. You're huddled now in a subway tunnel with 47 other people. You counted them twice, some desperate need to quantify what you can control when everything else is chaos. Above you, the ground shakes with impi, acts that feel like the end of the world. Dust falls from the ceiling with each tremor. A child is crying, an old man is praying in Spanish, and you're trying to keep a teenager with a crushed leg from going into shock, your hands steady even though your heart is racing. You're a nurse, you save people, that's what you do, but who saves you when the saviors are losing? The teenager, his name is Marcus, keeps asking if the Avengers are winning. You lie and say yes, because what else can you tell a kid whose leg is pinned under concrete, whose eyes are wide with terror? But you know the truth. Everyone in this tunnel knows the truth, even if no one says it out loud. You felt it when the subway station shook so hard that the tiles fell from the walls. That wasn't an explosion. That was something hitting something else with the force of a collapsing mountain. You heard it when the screaming started above ground, not screams of panic, but screams of genuine primal fear, the kind that comes from seeing something that shouldn't exist. And you saw it in the eyes of the police officer who ushered you down here, the way his hands trembled as he radioed for backup, that you all know isn't coming. The Avengers are losing. Earth's mightiest heroes are being broken against something they can't understand, can't defeat, can't even slow down. And if they fall, what happens to everyone else? What happens to you, to Marcus, to the 45 other souls breathing recycled air in this concrete tomb? Broly doesn't know you exist. He probably doesn't know anyone exists beyond the beings attacking him, trying to contain him, trying to stop him from simply being what he is. If you could see through the layers of concrete and steel, if you could witness what's happening on the surface, you'd see him standing in a crater that grows larger with every breath he takes. You'd see his muscles tense and release in patterns that have nothing to do with conscious thought, pure autonomy of a body that contains too much power for its own biology. You'd see his eyes, not cruel, not evil, just empty, staring at nothing and everything simultaneously. Broly isn't enjoying this. He isn't reveling in the destruction. He's trapped inside his own power, the same way you're trapped in this tunnel, a prisoner of circumstances beyond his control. But understanding that doesn't help you. Sympathy for your destroyer doesn't stop the ceiling from cracking, doesn't heal Marcus's leg, doesn't quiet the crying child whose mother is whispering reassurances she doesn't believe. Broly's tragedy doesn't erase yours. His suffering doesn't nullify the suffering he's causing. And that's the cruelest part of all this. There are no villains here, just victims creating more victims in an endless chain of pain. Miles away, in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Wong helps Doctor Strange to his feet, both men bloodied and exhausted from the mystical backlash. Strange's hands won't stop shaking, a symptom of his old injury that the magic usually compensates for, but his reserves are too depleted to maintain even basic stability. There has to be something, Strange rasps, blood dripping from his nose, some spell, some artifact, some bargain I can make. Wong's expression is grave as he shakes his head. Stephen, I've consulted the Book of the Vishanti, the Darkhold, even texts we swore never to open. There's nothing. this being. He exists outside the frameworks our magic operates within. He's not mystical, not divine, not even truly alien. He's an impossibility made flesh, and impossibilities cannot be bound by rules they were never subject to in the first place. Strange slumps against a bookshelf, and for the first time since becoming Sorcerer Supreme, he feels truly helpless. He's seen 14 million possible futures. He's bargained with Dormammu, but this is beyond even his vast understanding of the mystic arts. In the ruins of what used to be Times Square, Peter Parker pulls himself from beneath a collapsed billboard, his Spider-Man suit torn and bloody, his ribs screaming with what are probably fractures. He's been swinging through the city for hours, pulling people from rubble, guiding them to evacuation points, doing what he does best, saving the little guy. But even Peter's optimism, his unshakable belief that things will work out if you just keep trying, is starting to crack. He just watched Thor, the literal god of thunder, get swatted aside like he was nothing. He watched Captain America's shield break. He watched the Hulk stop being the Hulk because even infinite rage has its limits. Peter is 17 years old. He's supposed to be worried about homework and girls and whether he'll get into a good college. Instead, he's watching his heroes fall, watching his city burn, and trying desperately to figure out what Uncle Ben would tell him to do right now. With great power comes great responsibility. But what responsibility do you have when you don't have enough power? When no one has enough power? Across the city, in a penthouse that's somehow still standing, Pepper Potts watches the news feeds with Morgan Stark sleeping in her arms. Tony's suit telemetry is showing critical damage across every system. His life signs are stable but weakening. Jarvis would have advised retreat hours ago, but Tony Stark doesn't retreat. He never has. Pepper wants to call him, to beg him to come home, to remind him that he's a father now and Morgan needs him more than the world does. But she doesn't make the call, because she knows what he'd say. He'd say that, Morgan needs a world to grow up in more than she needs a father. He'd say that if he doesn't fight, if none of them fight, there won't be a home to come back to. And he'd be right. That's the terrible part. He'd be absolutely right. So Pepper holds her daughter, watches her husband's vital signs flicker on a screen, and does the hardest thing she's ever done. She trusts him to come back. She trusts that somehow, against impossible odds, the man she loves will find a way. Because he always has, but there's a first time for everything, and that thought keeps circling in her mind like a vulture waiting for death. Broly's power surges again, and the shockwave it creates travels through the ground like an earthquake, rippling outward from the epicenter of his existence. In your tunnel, Maria, the ceiling finally gives way. Not all of it, just enough to send concrete and rebar crashing down, to turn your refuge into a tomb. You throw yourself over Marcus instinctively, your body becoming his shield, feeling the impacts against your back like hammers. Someone screams, the lights go out, and in the darkness, with dust choking your lungs and pain radiating through your spine, you think about how unfair this is. You didn't ask for this. None of the people in this tunnel asked for this. You're not heroes or villains or cosmic entities playing games with reality. You're just people trying to survive another day in a city that keeps attracting catastrophes. You're nurses and teachers and accountants and parents. You matter. Your lives have value. But in the calculus of cosmic power, of beings who can shatter mountains and crack planets, you're collateral damage. You're statistics. You're the nameless masses who die while gods fight, and no one will remember your name when this is over. If there even is an over. If anyone survives to remember anything at all. Above ground, Broly stands motionless, his chest heaving, his aura pulsing with rhythmic intensity like a heartbeat made visible. If you could see his face, you'd see confusion warring with rage, pain mixing with power. a consciousness trying desperately to resurface from beneath an ocean of violent energy. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't understand where here even is. All he knows is that things keep attacking him, and his body keeps responding, and the response keeps getting stronger, and he can't make it stop. He can't make anything stop. He's screaming inside his own mind, begging for control, for peace, for anything except this endless cycle of conflict and escalation. But the power doesn't care what he wants. The power just is. And so Broly stands in his crater of destruction, simultaneously the most dangerous being on the planet and the most tragic, a monster who never chose to be monstrous, a weapon that never wanted to be wielded. The Marvel Universe looks at him and sees a threat. But if they could see inside, they'd see a prisoner, and prisoners, no matter how dangerous, deserve some measure of compassion. The question is, can compassion survive when survival itself is at stake? In the ruins of the Avengers compound, Nick Fury stands before a holographic display showing real-time damage assessments, casualty projections, and power readings that keep climbing beyond what their instruments can measure. His one good eye scans the data with the calculating precision of a man who has made impossible decisions for decades. But even Fury, who has stared down alien invasions and cosmic threats without blinking, feels the weight of what he's about to do pressing down on his shoulders like a physical burden. He's exhausted every conventional option. Every hero on Earth has engaged, and they're losing badly. The compound's AI has run 7,000 combat simulations, and in every single one, the outcome is the same: total systemic failure within the next 2 hours. Fury reaches for a communication device he swore he'd never use except as an absolute last resort. A modified pager that connects to frequencies beyond Earth's atmosphere, beyond normal space, to beings who exist on a level that makes even gods seem small. He hesitates for only a moment. Then he presses send. The message is simple: we're out of options. We need you, all of you. The response comes faster than expected. The sky tears open, not with violence but with authority, as the Bifrost activates, depositing not just one Asgardian but dozens. Heimdall, all-seeing guardian of the Rainbow Bridge, materializes with warriors from every realm Asgard protects. His golden eyes, capable of seeing every soul in the 9 realms, focus on Broly, and for the first time in his immortal existence, Heimdall admits he cannot fully perceive what he's looking at. The Saiyan's power exists outside normal space-time, he tells Thor, who limps to greet his old friend, every movement painful. I can see his body, but the energy within him, it's like staring into a sun that burns in colors that don't exist. My sight shows me 14 million possible futures, Odinson, and in 13,900,000 of them, your world burns. Thor's jaw clenches. And the other 100,000? Heimdall's expression is grim. In those, your world still burns, but some survive to rebuild. The math is clear. Hope doesn't lie in victory. It lies in minimizing the apocalypse. In space, the Guardians of the Galaxy's ship drops out of hyperspace above Earth, and what they see through their viewports makes even Drax the Destroyer pause. Rocket scanners are painting a picture of devastation that rivals what Thanos did to Xandar, Exa, but this is happening in real time, spreading outward from a single point source. That energy signature, Gamora says quietly, her voice carrying the weight of someone who has seen civilizations fall. I've seen it before, not exactly like this, but similar. On worlds Thanos destroyed, there were sometimes warriors who refused to die, whose rage kept them fighting even when their bodies should have given out. Their power would spike, reality would fracture around them, and they'd take entire battalions with them before finally falling. But those warriors were contained, focused. This is that same principle, but without any restraint, without any ceiling. Star-Lord looks at her. So what you're saying is, we're looking at a walking doomsday device that doesn't know it's a doomsday device? Gamora nods. The Saiyan race was legendary for their battle lust. If this one has no control, no training, no off switch. She doesn't finish. She doesn't need to. The Celestials arrive without fanfare, simply manifesting in Earth's orbit, their titanic forms dwarfing mountains, their presence causing every mystical and technological sensor on the planet to overload simultaneously. These are beings who seed worlds with life, who judge civilizations, who operate on timescales measured in eons. They do not intervene in mortal affairs lightly. But Broly's energy signature has drawn their attention because it violates several fundamental laws they themselves established when shaping this reality. One Celestial, Arishem the Judge, extends his consciousness toward Earth, toward Broly, attempting to analyze what should not exist. The feedback he receives is unprecedented. Broly's biology is simultaneously impossible and undeniable. Cells that contain universe-level energy density, DNA that rewrites itself in response to threat, a body that should collapse, Celestials in frequencies that would drive mortals insane. This entity is not of our design. It represents a foreign element introduced into our carefully balanced experiment. Its continued presence threatens the integrity of this reality's framework, recommendation, extraction, or elimination. But elimination isn't simple, even for beings as powerful as Celestials. Arishem reaches down with one massive hand, energy that can reshape planets flowing from his fingers, attempting to simply erase Broly from existence, the way one might delete an error from a calculation. The energy strikes, a beam of pure cosmic judgment that has unmade entire species, and Broly blocks it, not with technique or skill, but with an involuntary surge of power that rises to meet the Celestial's attack, matching it, exceeding it, pushing back. Arishem's hand recoils, and for the first time in his billions of years of existence, he experiences something approximating surprise. The other Celestials converge, 5 of them now, their combined judgment focusing on this single target. The energy they channel could crack a planet. They intend to end this quickly, decisively, before more damage is done. The beams converge on Broly from 5 directions simultaneously, each one carrying enough power to atomize a continent. The impact creates a light show visible from Mars, a pillar of destruction that should leave nothing but a crater where Broly stood. When the light fades, Broly is on one knee, his body smoking, his muscles tensed, his aura flickering between green and gold with increasing instability. He's hurt, actually hurt. The Celestials wounded him, but he's not dead. He's not even unconscious. And as they watch, his wounds begin to close, his power begins to rise, his body adapting to the assault it just survived. The Celestial Eason the Searcher communicates a realization that chills even high. Its ancient consciousness. It learns. Its biology adapts in real time. Each attack that fails to kill it makes it stronger, more resistant. We are not fighting an opponent. We are training a weapon to survive anything we might use against it. The Celestials withdraw their assault, conferring amongst themselves at the speed of thought. Their conclusion is unanimous and terrifying. They cannot destroy Broly without destroying Earth itself. The energy required to guarantee his elimination would vaporize the planet and potentially destabilize this solar system. The cost of absolute victory is absolute genocide, and even that might not work if his adaptive abilities allow him to survive planetary destruction. Dr. Strange, watching from the ground with every hero still conscious, sees the Celestials hesitate and his heart sinks. If beings who shaped reality itself cannot solve this problem, what hope do mortals have? He reaches out telepathically to Jean Grey, who has recovered enough to re-enter the fight. Jean, I need you to connect all of us, every mind on this battlefield. We need to think together, plan together, because individual efforts have failed. Jean's eyes glow as she creates a psychic network, linking Strange with Reed Richards, Tony Stark, T'Challa, Shuri, Rocket Raccoon, and every other brilliant mind present. Thousands of years of combined intelligence and experience focusing on a single problem. How do you stop something that cannot? The psychic network Jean Grey creates feels like standing in a room with 1,000 voices speaking simultaneously, yet somehow you can understand each one perfectly. Read. Richards's mind works through quantum equations at speeds that would burn out normal brains. Tony Stark runs simulation after simulation, each one ending in failure but teaching him something new. Shuri's genius interfaces with Wakandan computational systems, analyzing Broly's energy patterns for any exploitable weakness. Doctor Strange channels mystical knowledge from 1,000 lifetimes, searching ancient texts mentally for any precedent, any solution. But the conclusion they reach together is the one none of them wanted to face. Broly cannot be defeated. Not by strength, not by strategy, not by any weapon or spell currently available to them. The conversation that follows happens in microseconds, thoughts flowing faster than speech, but the weight of each idea is crushing. Exile, Reed suggests. Open a portal to the negative zone and push him through before he can adapt. Tony's response is immediate. He'd tear through dimensional barriers within hours, maybe minutes. We'd just be delaying the inevitable and potentially contaminating another reality. Shuri's consciousness adds data to the network. His power increases exponentially when challenged. Every attack makes him stronger. The Celestials' assault elevated his energy output by 300%. If we hit him with everything we have simultaneously, we might kill him, or we might create something exponentially worse. The thought spreads through the network like ice water. What if their final desperate attack doesn't destroy Broly, but instead pushes him into a transformation they can't even imagine? What if, in trying to save Earth, they accidentally create something that could threaten the entire universe? Doctor Strange's mystical perception shows them visions of possible futures, timelines where Broly is pushed too far and his power explodes outward in a wave that doesn't just destroy Earth, but fractures reality itself, creating tears in space-time that allow horrors from other dimensions to pour through. The risk is too great. Then what? T'Challa's thoughts are measured, precise, carrying the weight of a king who has made hard decisions before. We cannot fight him. We cannot contain him. We cannot exile him. Are you suggesting we simply surrender, allow him to destroy everything? The silence in the psychic network is deafening, because that's exactly what the math suggests. That's what logic demands. Broly is not going to stop escalating on his own. His power is not going to plateau. Every moment he exists in this universe, he becomes more dangerous, more unstable, more likely to cause a catastrophic event that could end not just human civilization but all life on Earth. And there's no indication he can be reasoned with, calmed down, or convinced to leave peacefully. Jean Grey's thoughts interrupt the despair with something unexpected: empathy. She shares what she felt when she briefly touched Broly's mind, the confusion, the pain, the desperate scrambling of a consciousness trying to resurface from beneath an ocean of violent instinct. He's suffering, she projects to them all. He doesn't want this. He's trapped inside his own power, the same way we're trapped on this planet with him. He's a victim too. Tony's response is sharp, almost angry. A victim who is killing innocent people. A victim whose suffering is causing exponentially more suffering. I appreciate the psychology, Jean, but we're past the point where understanding him helps us. Reed Richards's mind suddenly flares with an idea so desperate, so ethically questionable, that even thinking it makes him feel ill. But he shares it anyway, because they're out of options. What perceived threats? His power spikes when he's challenged or attacked. But what if we stopped attacking? What if we evacuated everyone within his range and simply let him be? His energy might stabilize if he's not constantly being provoked. Strange's response is immediate and horrified. You're suggesting we surrender Manhattan? Possibly more? Just abandon territory and hope he doesn't expand? Reed's thoughts are heavy with guilt. I'm suggesting we choose between losing a city and losing a planet. If we stop engaging, his power might plateau. If we keep fighting, we guarantee escalation. It's not surrender. It's strategic withdrawal to prevent extinction. The network erupts in conflict, some minds agreeing, others violently opposed, all of them understanding the terrible calculus at play. Before consensus can be reached, reality makes the decision for them. Broly's aura explodes outward in a pulse that dwarfs everything he's done before. A sphere of green energy that expands for miles in all directions, disintegrating everything it touches. not destroying, disintegrating. Matter simply ceases to exist where the energy passes, leaving behind voids that reality struggles to fill. The psychic network shatters as Jean Grey loses concentration, the pain of feeling thousands of minds wink out of existence in an instant overwhelming her telepathy. When the energy fades, a perfect circle 5 miles in diameter has been carved out of Manhattan. Buildings that stood for a century are gone. Streets that carried millions of people are gone. And in the center of it all, Broly stands, his transformation finally completing. His hair has turned golden, his muscles have swollen even larger, and his eyes are completely white, no pupils, no consciousness visible. He has fully transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan, and the person who was Broly, the confused and frightened Ned consciousness that Jean briefly touched, is gone, buried so deep beneath the power that he might never resurface. What stands in Manhattan now is not a person. It's a living natural disaster, and it has just entered its final, most destructive phase. You are back in that tunnel, Maria Hernandez, except the tunnel isn't there anymore. The ceiling collapsed minutes ago, and you're trapped under rubble with Marcus still beneath you, his breathing shallow, his pulse weak. You can't move. Something heavy is pinned across your back, and every attempt to shift it sends waves of agony through your body that make you see stars. You can hear others crying out in the darkness, voices calling for help that isn't coming, prayers whispered to gods who seem to have abandoned this place. Your nursing training tells you that you're going into shock, that you need to stay calm, keep breathing, wait for rescue. But your heart tells you something different. It tells you that rescue isn't coming, that the heroes who always save the day are just as trapped as you are, just as powerless against whatever is happening above. You think about your family, your mother in the Bronx, your brother in Jersey, your niece who just turned 5 and calls you Tia Maria with a lisp that makes your heart melt. Will they even find your body? Will they know you died trying to save someone? Or will you just be another statistic, another name on a memorial wall, another person who was in the wrong place when the world ended? Marcus stirs beneath you, and his voice is so quiet you almost miss it. Miss Hernandez, are we going to die? You want to lie. You want to tell him everything will be fine, that the Avengers are winning, that help is on the way. But you're so tired of lying, so exhausted from pretending you're not terrified, so instead you tell him the truth. No. But if we do, at least we're not alone. At least we tried. At least we mattered to someone. Your hand finds his in the darkness, and you hold it tight, two strangers connected by circumstance and calamity, waiting together for whatever comes next. Above you, the ground shakes again. Dust falls, someone screams and then goes quiet. And you close your eyes, not to sleep but to pray, not to be saved, but for your death to mean something. For this sacrifice, unasked for and unwanted, to somehow contribute to a future where people like Marcus get to grow up, fall in love, have children, live lives that aren't cut short by forces beyond comprehension. You pray that your death buys someone else life. It's all you have left to hope for. On the surface, the remaining heroes gather for what they all know is their last stand. Captain America can barely lift his broken shield, but he holds it anyway. Iron Man's suit is held together more by Tony's willpower than by actual structural integrity, but he hovers in formation. Thor clutches Mjolnir with both hands, every muscle screaming, but he raises the hammer one more time. They're not doing this because they think they can win. They're doing it because this is what heroes do. They stand between danger and the innocent, even when standing means dying. Especially when standing means dying. Steve Rogers looks at his team, at these incredible people who have become his family, and speaks words that carry no hope but infinite courage. Avengers, one more time, for everyone who can't fight, for everyone who's counting on us, for everyone who deserves a tomorrow, whatever it takes. And as Broly's golden aura intensifies, as his power climbs toward levels that defy measurement, Earth's mightiest heroes charge forward into certain death, because that's what heroes do. They don't give up. They never give up, even when giving up is the only logical choice. Especially then. The final charge happens in slow motion for those watching from orbit. Silver Surfer, recovering from his earlier defeat, witnesses it all with the detached perspective of cosmic awareness, and even he, who has seen galaxies die, finds himself moved by what he's seeing. These mortals, these fragile beings whose lives are measured in decades rather than eons, are throwing themselves at a force that could crack worlds. They know they cannot win. Their tactical networks tell them survival is impossible. Their simulations show 0% success probability, yet they charge anyway, because the alternative is to abandon those they've sworn to protect. It's illogical, it's irrational, it's statistically suicidal, and it's the most profoundly human thing the Surfer has ever witnessed. He opens a channel to Galactus, his voice carrying urgency that surprises even himself. "Master, if you've ever cared about courage, about the spirit that makes civilizations worth preserving, you need to see this, because what's happening on Earth right now is either the most beautiful or the most tragic thing I've ever seen. Possibly both." The Avengers hit Broly like a tidal wave of desperation and defiance. Iron Man unleashes every weapon system he has left, his arc reactor burning so hot it's melting his chest plate from the inside out. War Machine joins him, both armored warriors becoming living firework displays as they empty their entire arsenals in a synchronized assault that lights up the sky. Captain America throws his broken shield with every ounce of strength left in his enhanced body, the fractured vibranium spinning through the air like a promise that even broken things can. As he pours everything, his strength, his godhood, his very life force, into one final strike. Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, growing to Giant Man size, Spider-Man swinging in with webs and courage, every hero still standing commits everything they have to this moment. It's not a battle anymore, it's a statement. It's Earth saying, "We were here, we fought, we mattered." Broly's response is not malicious, it's automatic. His aura explodes outward to meet their assault, and where the two forces collide, reality itself screams. The shockwave levels everything within 3 miles that wasn't already destroyed, creates an electromagnetic pulse that knocks out every electronic device in the tri-state area, and generates heat signatures that satellites mistake for nuclear detonations. Tony Stark's armor fails catastrophically, systems shorting out, life support going offline, and he's in freefall before Jarvis's backup protocols can even engage. Steve Rogers is thrown so hard his super soldier body finally reaches its limit, bones breaking, consciousness fading, the shield falling from his grip for the first time since he picked it up. Thor crashes to Earth with enough force to create a crater within a crater, Mjolnir landing beside him, and for the first time in 1,000 years of battle, the God of Thunder cannot rise. They tried, they gave everything, and it wasn't enough, it was never going to be enough. But they tried anyway, and that matters. It has to matter. Doctor Strange watches from his mystical vantage point, and in this moment of absolute crisis, he makes a decision that will haunt him forever. He opens the Eye of Agamotto, channeling the Time Stone's power one last time, peering forward through possible futures to find any timeline where Earth survives this. He sees 14,605 possibilities, his conceit. Owsness splitting across potential realities at speeds that would shatter mortal minds, and what he sees makes his blood run cold. In 13 million futures, Earth is destroyed within the next hour, either by Broly's power detonating like a supernova, or by the desperate final measures heroes take to stop him. In 1 million futures, Broly is stopped, but at costs so catastrophic they barely qualify as victory. Reality permanently damaged, dimensional barriers shattered, or weapons deployed that make nuclear bombs look like firecrackers. In the remaining futures, something unexpected happens, something no one planned for, something that requires Strange to make a choice he swore he'd never make: do nothing. Let events unfold without interference. Trust in chaos rather than control. But before Strange can act on this terrible knowledge, something shifts. Broly, standing at the center of his self-made apocalypse, suddenly goes completely still. His golden aura, which has been raging like a storm since his transformation, flickers, dims. His white eyes, empty of consciousness for the past hour, suddenly show pupils again. And in those pupils, for just a moment, there's awareness, pain, confusion. The person buried beneath the power is fighting to resurface, clawing his way up from the depths of instinct and rage. It's the first time since arriving that Broly has shown any sign of conscious thought. Jean Grey feels it immediately, her telepathy picking up thoughts instead of just raw emotion. Fragmented thoughts, broken thoughts, but thoughts nonetheless. Where? What? Stop. Please, stop. It's heartbreaking. It's the mental equivalent of someone drowning, their head barely breaking the surface long enough to gasp for air before being pulled under again. But it's something. It's proof that He's conscious, Jean projects to every mind she can reach. For the first time, he's actually conscious. Whatever just happened, whatever breaking point he just hit, it shocked him back to awareness. We have a window, maybe seconds, maybe minutes, but we have a chance to reach him. The heroes still capable of movement converge, not to attack, but to attempt something they've never tried, not defeating the threat, but helping it, helping him. Bruce Banner, reverted from the Hulk and barely conscious, pulls himself forward with his arms because his legs won't work. Broly, he calls out, his voice weak but carrying across the destruction. Broly, if you can hear me, if you can understand me, we're not your enemies. We don't want to hurt you. You're not in danger here. You can stop, you can rest. Whatever happened to you, whatever made you this way, it doesn't have to define you. I know what it's like to lose control. I know what it's like to be afraid of yourself. But you can fight it. You can come back. Please, just come back. Broly's head turns toward Bruce's voice, and the expression on his face is so painfully human that it shatters the monster narrative everyone has been operating under. He looks lost, terrified, like a child who woke up from a nightmare to find the nightmare is real and he's the one causing it. His mouth moves, struggling to form words, struggling to remember how to communicate with something other than violence. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough, unused, barely more than a whisper that somehow carries across the silent battlefield. Can't, stop, tried, always try, power, too much, hurts, everything hurts. His hands come up to his head, clutching at his temples, and his aura flares again, not in attack, but in anguish, his body responding to his emotional distress by generating more power, which causes more distress, which generates more power. It's a feedback loop, a vicious cycle, and Broly is trapped in it, has been trapped in it his entire life, a prisoner of his own biology with no hope of parole. Then let us help you, Tony Stark says, his voice coming from the shattered remains of his armor, every word a struggle because his ribs are broken and his lungs are barely functioning. We have the smartest minds in the universe here. We have technology, magic, cosmic powers. If you give us time, if you fight to stay conscious, we can figure something out. We can find a way to control it, suppress it, channel it, something. But you have to work with us. You have to stop attacking and start trusting. Can you do that? Can you give us a chance? For a moment, one beautiful, impossible moment, Broly's aura stabilizes, his breathing slows, his muscles relax. He nods, just slightly, the motion of someone who desperately wants to believe rescue is possible, even though experience has taught him otherwise. Hope flickers across his face like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, and the heroes, battered and broken and barely standing, feel that same hope. Maybe they can't defeat him, but maybe they can save him. Maybe that's what heroes do. They save people, even people whose power makes them dangerous, even people who seem beyond redemption, especially those people. Then, from orbit, something changes. The Celestials, who have been observing this entire exchange with calculated patience, reach their conclusion. Arishem, the judge's voice, resonates across every frequency, speaking to heroes and villains and civilians alike, his words unavoidable and absolute. The Saiyan entity has demonstrated momentary consciousness restoration. However, probability analysis indicates 99.7% likelihood of relapse within the next standard hour. Each relapse increases power output and reality dam. age exponentially. This planet stands at evolutionary crossroads. We acknowledge the courage displayed by Earth's defenders and the tragic nature of the Saiyans' condition. However, compassion cannot supersede cosmic responsibility. The containment protocols have failed. The entity cannot be controlled by any technology or power available in this reality. Therefore, we implement final judgment, planetary evacuation, or planetary sterilization. You have 6 hours to decide. Use them wisely. There are no other options. The transmission ends, and the heroes stand in the ruins of their city, looking at Broly, who is looking back at them with eyes that have just realized he's become everyone's death sentence, and the weight of impossible choice settles over them like a shroud. Save the man or save the world. There is no option where everyone survives. 6 hours, that's all they have. 6 hours to evacuate 7 billion people or condemn them all to die when the Celestials sterilize the planet to eliminate the threat Broly represents. The machinery of desperation kicks into motion with terrifying efficiency. Shai ELD activates every evacuation protocol ever designed. Wakanda opens its borders, offering its advanced transport systems. Asgard's Bifrost runs continuously, pulling thousands at a time off-world. The Guardians coordinate with the Nova Corps and every spacefaring civilization that owes Earth a favor, commandeering every ship capable of carrying refugees. Doctor Strange and every sorcerer still conscious open portals to parallel dimensions, pocket realities, anywhere that can house humanity temporarily. It's not enough. It can never be enough. But they try anyway, because 6 hours of desperate effort is better than 6 hours of resigned waiting. The news spreads across the globe in minutes, not through official channels, but through the terrified whispers of people who look up and see giant godlike beings looming in orbit, who feel the wrongness in the air, who understand instinctively that everything has changed forever. In the ruins of Manhattan, Broly sits. Not standing, not fighting, sitting. His massive frame crumpled on rubble that was once a city block, his head in his hands, his aura dimmed to almost nothing as he pours every ounce of will he possesses into remaining conscious, into not letting the power take him again. Bruce Banner sits beside him, the Hulk's enemy and unexpected kindred spirit, because Bruce understands what Broly is experiencing better than anyone. "It feels like drowning, doesn't it?" Bruce says quietly, his voice carrying the weight of decades of personal experience. "Like there's this ocean of rage and power inside you, and you're treading water in the middle of it, and every time you get tired, every time you stop fighting for even a second, it pulls you under. And when you're under, you're not you anymore. You're just the monster everyone fears." Broly doesn't look up, but he nods, the gesture so small and human it breaks Bruce's heart. "How?" Broly's voice cracks. "How do you live like this? How do you wake up every day knowing what you could become?" Bruce considers the question for a long moment, his eyes distant, looking at memories of destruction and regret, and the countless times he's wondered the same thing. "I don't know if I do live with it," he admits. "Some days I manage it. Some days I cooperate with it, some days I lose to it. But I keep trying because the alternative, giving up, letting the Hulk take over permanently, that's not living, that's just existing. And you deserve more than that. Whatever happened to you, whatever made you this way, you deserve the chance to be more than your worst moment." Broly finally looks at him, and in his eyes is a desperation so profound it's almost holy. "But what if I can't? What if this is all I am? Power without purpose, destruction without choice. They're evacuating an entire planet because I exist. How do you come back from that? How do you deserve to live after costing billions of people their home?" The question hangs in the air like smoke, and Bruce has no answer, because he's asked himself the same question hundreds of times, and he's never found an answer that satisfies. Reed Richards works with Tony Stark and Shuri in what remains of Stark Tower's laboratory. their three minds attacking the problem from every angle science can provide. They've analyzed Broly's cellular structure, his energy output patterns, his neurological responses. The data is simultaneously fascinating and horrifying. His cells are regenerating faster than we can study them, Reed explains, his elastic fingers manipulating holographic displays at inhuman speeds. Every injury accelerates his healing. Every threat activates dormant genetic sequences. He's essentially evolving in real time, his body automatically adapting to overcome whatever threatens it. It's the perfect survival mechanism and the perfect nightmare. Tony, working through cracked ribs and concussion symptoms he refuses to acknowledge, runs simulation after simulation. There has to be a way to suppress it. A frequency, a chemical compound, some form of energy dampener. Shuri shakes her head, her expression frustrated. Brother already deployed our sonic weapons. They had no effect. His body simply adapted, his cellular structure dampening the vibrations before they could disrupt his nervous system. It's like fighting evolution itself. Dr. Strange joins them, his astral form flickering because his physical body is too damaged to move. I've consulted with every mystical entity willing to speak with me. The consensus is unanimous. Broly's power is not magical, not cosmic, not divine. It's biological, which means it operates under rules we can potentially manipulate. But it's also beyond anything this universe was designed to contain. He's an incompatibility error made flesh, like trying to run software designed for a different operating system. The universe itself is rejecting him, and his power is fighting back against that rejection, and the conflict between the two is tearing reality apart. He pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice carries the weight of terrible knowledge. I've seen the timeline where we succeed, where we find a way to suppress his power, contain him, keep him stable. It takes 47 years of constant effort, resources that could cure every disease and end every war diverted to one person's containment, and even then, there's a 93% chance he breaks free eventually. The universe doesn't want him here. It will never stop trying to expel him. The implications settle over them like ash. Even if they save Broly, even if they find a way to control his power, the cost would be incalculable. 47 years of humanity's greatest minds dedicated to containing one person. Resources that could save millions allocated to saving one. And at the end of it all, near certain failure anyway. It's not just a matter of can they save him, it's whether they should, when weighed against everything and everyone else. Tony Stark, who has made impossible choices before, who has carried the weight of utilitarian calculus for years, finally says what everyone is thinking, but no one wants to voice. We're not going to find a solution in 6 hours. We might not find one in 6 years. And even if we do, the opportunity cost is staggering. How many people die from problem? You suggesting we, what? Kill him? Abandon him when the Celestials sterilize the planet? How does that make us any better than the monsters we fight? Tony turns to face him, and his eyes are haunted. It doesn't. But being a hero isn't about always being good. Sometimes it's about choosing the least terrible option from a menu of horrors. If we dedicate everything to saving Broly, thousands die from problems we could have solved. If we don't, one person dies. A person who, through no fault of his own, represents an existential threat to billions. The math is ugly, but it's still math. The room falls silent, each brilliant mind grappling with the equation that has no right answer, only less wrong ones. Shuri finally speaks, her voice small. In Wakanda we have a saying, the king protects all, but the king cannot save all. When you must choose between your family and your nation, you choose the nation. Not because individual lives don't matter, but because some responsibilities outweigh others. Is that what we're facing? A choice between one life and billions? Strange's astral form flickers. I think we're facing something worse. We're facing a choice between being heroes and being effective, and sometimes you can't be both. Outside, the evacuation continues with increasing desperation. You are no longer Maria Hernandez. She died 40 minutes ago when the rubble finally crushed her chest cavity and her heart stopped beating. Marcus lived for another 10 minutes calling for his mother before blood loss and shock claimed him too. Their bodies lie in the darkness of a collapsed tunnel, two among thousands who will never see the sky again, never know if humanity survives this crisis, never learn whether their deaths meant anything. But you are now someone else. You are Jamal Washington, a father of 3 in Brooklyn, watching your wife pack what little you can carry, while your children cry because they don't understand why they have to leave Earth, leave their home, leave everything they've ever known. You are Dr. Sarah Chen, working a triage station where the injured keep coming, and you've run out of supplies, and all you can offer is morphine and comfort to people who are dying because the hospital collapsed. You are Marcus Thompson, a teenager in Tokyo who just watched Mount Fuji erupt for the first time in centuries because the seismic disturbances from Broly's power rippled across tectonic plates like dominoes falling. You are 7 billion people watching the end of the world unfold in real time, and you are terrified and angry and confused because the heroes you trusted to protect you are losing. The gods you watched save the universe are broken and bleeding, and the being responsible for all this destruction isn't even evil. He's just existing, just being what he is, just as much a victim as you are. How do you hate someone who never chose to be monstrous? How do you blame someone who's suffering just as much as you are? But how do you forgive someone whose mere existence costs you everything? There are no good answers. There are no comforting narratives. There's just reality in its cruelest form. Sometimes there are no villains, just circumstances. Sometimes there's no one to blame, just forces colliding. Sometimes the universe is simply unfair, and all your rage and pain and grief have nowhere to go because there's no target worthy of them. You're just casualties of cosmic bad luck, and that knowledge doesn't make the loss any easier to bear. As the 6-hour deadline approaches its final minutes, the Avengers gather one last time. Not to fight, they're too broken for that, but to witness, to be present for whatever ending comes. Captain America stands with T'Challa's support, his body shattered, but his spirit unbroken. Tony Stark has managed to jury-rig enough of his armor to keep himself alive, though barely. Thor leans on Mjolnir like a cane, every breath painful. They stand in a circle around Broly, who hasn't moved from his sitting position, who has fought to remain conscious for 6 hours straight, his body trembling from the effort of suppressing power that wants desperately to erupt. "I'm sorry," Broly says, and his voice carries such genuine remorse it cuts deeper than any of his attacks. "I never wanted this, never wanted to hurt anyone. I don't even know how I got here. I just woke up and everything was wrong. And I couldn't stop it. I tried. I'm still trying. But it's not enough. It's never enough." His voice breaks on the last word, and a single tear runs down his face. The tear of someone who understands they're about to die and knows they deserve it. Steve Rogers, Captain America, the man who has never given up on anyone, who has always believed in second chances and redemption, steps forward. His movements are slow, painful but determined. He kneels in front of Broly, eye level with the being who destroyed his city, killed his people, shattered his team, and he does something that shocks everyone watching. He extends his hand. "It's not your fault," Steve says, and his voice carries absolute conviction. "You didn't choose this. You didn't ask for this power. You're not responsible for what your biology does beyond your control. And you fought. God, you fought so hard to stay conscious, to not hurt us again. That matters, that counts. When this is over, when people tell stories about today, I'm going to make sure they know you tried, that you're not a monster, that you're someone who was dealt an impossible hand and played it as well as anyone could. You're a hero too, Broly, a tragic one, but a hero nonetheless." Broly stares at the offered hand, at this gesture of kinship from a man he's maimed and nearly killed, and something breaks inside him. Not his control, that remains, barely, but his isolation. For the first time, someone sees him, really sees him, not as a threat or a weapon or a disaster, but as a person, as someone worthy of compassion. He reaches out with a trembling hand and clasps Steve's, and in that moment, two warriors, one legendary, one infamous, connect across the gulf of their mutual suffering. The sky opens, not with violence but with finality. The Celestials return, and their judgment is absolute. Arishem's voice resonates through every mind on Earth simultaneously. Time has expired, evacuation incomplete. 73% of planetary population remains. The Saiyan entity has maintained consciousness, but probability models indicate inevitable relapse. Final judgment rendered. Planetary sterilization will commence in 60 seconds. This reality thanks you for your courage. May your next existence bring you peace. The countdown begins. 60, 59, 58. Heroes and civilians alike look up at the sky, at the beings who are about to erase their entire civilization to save the universe from one man. Broly stands, his hand still clasping Steve's, and his decision crystallizes with absolute clarity. "No," he says quietly, then louder. "No, not them, just me. I'll go." He looks at Steve, at Bruce, at all the heroes who tried to save him despite everything. How do I end it? Alone, forever, conscious but isolated. It's not death, but it's not life either. It's preservation of yourself and everyone else. Broly nods, accepting a fate that might be worse than death. Eternal solitude in a void, conscious and aware but with nothing to see, touch, hear or feel. Complete sensory deprivation for eternity. It's torture, but it's torture that only he suffers, instead of torture that destroys billions. "Do it," he says, "before I lose control again, before I hurt more people. Just do it." Strange begins the spell, his hands trembling as he weaves the most complex magic he's ever attempted, creating a doorway to nowhere, a portal to absence. The gateway opens like a wound in reality, and beyond it is darkness so absolute, it defies comprehension. Broly turns to face the heroes one last time, memorizing their faces, burning this moment into his consciousness so he'll have something, anything to hold on to in the infinite emptiness ahead. "Thank you," he says, "for seeing me, for treating me like a person. I won't forget. Even when there's nothing else to remember, I'll remember that someone cared." He steps toward the portal, and Steve's voice stops him. "Wait. You deserve to know. What you did today, fighting to stay conscious, choosing this, that took more courage than anything I've ever seen. You're braver than any of us. I hope you know that." Broly smiles, the first genuine smile any of them have seen from him. Sad and broken, but real. "I'm not brave, Captain. I'm just tired. Tired of being dangerous, tired of hurting people. Maybe this way I can finally rest." He turns and walks into the void. The portal closes behind him, and Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, the being who almost destroyed Earth, disappears into eternal isolation, conscious, aware, and completely alone. The threat ends not with violence, but with sacrifice, not with defeat, but with choice. And the universe is saved not by heroes who destroyed the monster, but by a monster who chose to destroy himself rather than let others suffer for his existence. The Celestials observe, analyze, and withdraw their judgment. Earth is spared, humanity survives. But at what cost? The planet lies in ruins, millions are dead, Manhattan is a crater, economies have collapsed, infrastructure is shattered. And the heroes stand in silence, understanding that they won only because someone else lost everything. They saved the world by letting one person sacrifice himself for it. Is that heroism, or is it just the least terrible option from a menu of horrors? Tony Stark will spend the next 10 years building better early warning systems, haunted by the knowledge that they were unprepared. Steve Rogers will wake from nightmares where he's still holding Broly's hand, feeling it slip away into darkness. Bruce Banner will look at his reflection and see Broly's face, wondering what separates them except luck and circumstance. Doctor Strange will never cast that spell again, the memory of creating someone's eternal prison too heavy to bear. They survived. Earth survived. But survival isn't victory. It's just not losing quite as badly as you could have. The Marvel Universe continues, its heroes scarred, its population traumatized, its faith in happy endings permanently shaken. And somewhere in a void between dimensions, Broly exists, conscious, remembering, alone. Not a villain, not a hero, just a casualty of cosmic cruelty who made one final choice when choice was all he had left. And that choice saved everyone except